Okay.
There you go. We are there. Hello. Hello. Good morning,
Hi.
everybody. So I'm back again for another of my creative conversations, a mini interview and informal chat with some of the amazing women in our group. And this week, I have Hayley Shaw of Frocks in Swing Time.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm going to let her introduce herself in a second. But I just want to remind you all that if you would like to take part in these conversations, just send me a message because I'd love to interview and get to know more of you. And the whole point of these conversations is to share our passions with each other and also to get used to being a bit on camera and sharing what we do and talking easily about it. So I'm going to jump straight in. I'm going to ask Hayley. Thank you for joining us today and introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about Hayley and who you are.
Okay. Well, I'm Hayley. I run Frocks and Swing Time. I set it up years ago, where it was just a tiny thing really that I was doing as a hobby. So I started out really small. I was actually sharing a pitch at a vintage fair with somebody else. And then obviously it got, more and more popular, and now I have my very own shop.
Yay! So I have known Hayley for quite some time, and because some of you who do or don't, I think most of you do know that I started my business as a vintage business as well. And Hayley was kind of one of the very first people who really took me under her wing. So actually, to be able to come and do this conversation and find out more about her journey since we kind of parted directions is brilliant. And I feel so honoured in a way to have you here because she
Oh,
probably doesn't even realise how much in the beginning just having a friendly face and somebody at vintage fairs and events who would always make the effort to come and see how I was getting on and help me and share ideas just makes such a difference. And it's kind of
yeah.
inspired a lot of what I do now in my business. So thank you for being that person right in the beginning. So let's jump in a little bit and tell me a bit. Obviously, you've kind of given us a little snippet there of Frocks in Swing Time, but tell us a bit more about how it came about and exactly what it is.
Okay, so well, as you said, we were both doing vintage fairs and festivals years ago, and it really came about because I was working as a teacher. I was having a really hard time personally. My husband and I, we wanted to have a family. It didn't work out. We went through some really horrible, tragic times, and I was dealing with a lot of grief, very angry, and very sad. And finding vintage was like that little ray of sunshine in what had become a bit of a dark, twisty world for me, where everything seemed really unfair. So yeah, I basically it was my comfort zone, and I, like I said, started out small, did little vintage fairs where I got to chat to lovely people like yourself, and it was escapism for me. It was pure escapism, and I loved it. And then of course I got to meet lots of lovely people like yourself, and unlike my day job, which was all about children, this was the complete opposite. So it was really lovely, and I actually got to meet other women like myself who'd been through, various different tragedies, whether it was breast cancer or, miscarriage, bereavement, all sorts of different things. And basically were coming to me because, like I was all that time ago, they were looking for a bit of escapism, a bit of a sort of frivolous joy, in times where you've got no real control over anything else. So yeah, sorry, I think somebody's banging on my door and I'm the only one here at the moment. That's really,
Classic.
that's really bad timing. Hold on, I'm just gonna
All right, take us with
open it
you.
up.
Come on, let's go on to
So
your door.
yeah,
There'll be more surprise. They'll be
I'm
more
in.
surprised
Oh,
than you
and
are
it's
to find out there.
oh, how annoying! Right, here we go.
It's gone now. Never mind. That could have been exciting.
It could. Oh, I'll just check they haven't left something on my doorstep.
Go for it. There could have
Hi,
been.
thank you. It's the postie.
Oh,
Right.
oh, this is
There we
brilliant.
go.
It's all
Sorry
right.
about that.
We're getting a really lovely glimpse of your gorgeous
Here we go.
interior.
Yeah, living room. Back to the lounge. All right,
That is
there we go.
brilliant. That's very Annika Rice of you.
Yeah, it really was, wasn't it?
I love it.
Right.
Okay, take a minute
Yeah,
to get your breath.
back
Okay.
to
Yes. So your vintage business. Share a little bit about what it is that you sell, because I know it's as lots of businesses do, it's kind of evolved over time. But tell us a bit about what it is you sell and kind of, I guess, why vintage? Because obviously I understand you were looking for escapism, you were looking for something that you could fall into that took your mind off the really dark place you were in. But why vintage?
I think for me, it was literally something that just I don't know. I can't even remember exactly how I discovered it, but I suppose I've always been very feminine, very much, liked fashion, and when I discovered, I didn't really know that like vintage was a thing that you could actually access in today's day and age. So the whole idea that actually, you could get your hands on, a 1950s outfit, a 1940s outfit, a 20, it was so, actually, this will sound weird, it was so new and refreshing, because I just didn't think that there was anything like that. I guess it kind of all started because Gary and I started going to dance classes, again, kind of part of the healing process. Once we knew that we weren't going to have a family, it was like sort of looking at, I guess, reinventing my lifestyle and new future goals. And so looking at all the things that you could do, because, we weren't having a baby. So it was one of those things where we went to dance classes. And of course, I kind of found out about vintage through that as well. There was a lovely lady there, Carly, who I'm good friends with now. She's very into vintage. She used to do some of the hairstyling at vintage fairs. And so I guess it kind of stemmed from there, because I loved the dancing, and then the idea, that you could go to these things and everybody dressed so incredibly. I think that for me was how it really came about. And yeah, just the joy. There's nothing else like it when it comes to fashion. You can be twirling around in a petticoat or shimmying in a Gatsby dress. Going back to your question about what we sell, it's not just all dresses. I mean, of course, I gave myself the name Frocks in Swing Time because, of course, I was learning to swing dance, and it was very much about the frocks. But of course, as the business expanded, it then had to become not just about dresses. So yeah, we've got everything from all the shoes and bags and cardigans to then obviously expanding into like the high-waisted trousers, the jeans and the capri pants, and all the other sort of styles. So anything really that was popular, particularly in the 40s and 50s, but we do also have the 20s as well.
Yeah. Fantastic. One thing that I know, obviously, from running my own vintage business, but also from being such a fan of the vintage store, and get the whole outfit. It's a service that's just necessary, I think, in today's busy society. You can go into your shop and get the dress, the jewelry, the hat, the shoes, and walk away and not have to go to 1,000 other stores and have that kind of stress of just trawling the high street.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that people always say when they come into the shop. They love the fact that because I handpick everything that's in the shop, so it's not like a big department store, literally everything in there. I go to London a couple of times a year and I handpick everything. So I've then not only handpicked the dresses and the trousers and the tops, and the knit there that goes with all of those. I've also thought about, you know, which shoes are going to go with those. That's great fun actually, because sometimes I have the reps come out and I literally just play around in the shop putting pairs of shoes underneath, you know, dresses and trousers to see what works, because yeah, it should be a fun experience, I think. And that's one of the things that was really important to me, because setting up my business was about overcoming personal loss for me and about having light relief. I wanted that to be the same for when people come to the shop, because you've got no idea what's going on in somebody's life. You know, sometimes it's really good fun and they're coming in because they want a wedding outfit, but equally they could be coming in because they want cheering up. You know, they've seen the lovely window display and they think, oh, you know, yeah, that looks bright and pretty and I could do with treating myself. And I think that they should come in and feel like, yeah, that the stresses can, you know, maybe disappear for half an hour and they can just have somebody, you know, pamper them and have fun, you know, like playing around with different styles that work. But I had a lovely lady come in with her daughter and they were practically in tears, in a good way, because they said that all their previous shopping experiences have been such a nightmare, because her daughter, she was only about 22, but she was like a size 18, and they'd said that so many of their shopping experiences just got them really stressed out and ended up, you know, like her daughter being a bit weepy because, you know, the 18s on the high street, they weren't real 18s and they didn't fit, or, you know, or they'd only go to a 16. And so often she was kind of like made to feel, you know, just a bit worthless about herself because of her size. And so another thing, you know, that I like to make sure is that not only have we got all the accessories, but we've got a really good range of sizes and different cuts, because it's all very well having different sizes in one particular dress, but actually that dress might not fit a more curvy figure. Equally, for somebody that's, you know, quite sort of up and down in their figure, something that would fit somebody who's really curvy is not going to work for them up top. So yeah, there's quite a lot to think about, and that's my job. You know, I don't think that somebody coming in, that it's my job to worry about that, and it shouldn't be theirs, because that's what makes shopping stressful rather than being, you know, being fun.
Yeah. And you know what, hearing you say all of these things, it just makes me so happy, because I think the vintage community, although people tend to focus on the style, and often I would get comments that, oh, I don't like vintage, I'm not into old-fashioned clothes and all of that kind of thing. Yeah. But I think what's happened within the vintage community is this acceptance that all of those things you said, that size and shape and preference, whether you want to be really girly with lots of fluffy petticoats or whether you don't, that's not your look, all of these things are accepted and embraced and catered for. And you can almost walk into any vintage store, discounting slightly the true actual items that come from the 1940s and 50s, because obviously sizing was very different. Yeah. But this community have harnessed something that our high street have lost. And I think, you know, after this whole lockdown period and shops being closed, people are going to need a reason to come back to the high street. We're not just going to come back in the same way that we went before. And an experience, interestingly, I read a blog from Mary Portas, and she was talking about how the high street need to create an experience, and the shops that people go to need to be all of the things you said, stress-free, inclusive, definitely. Making them step inside and forget everything that's going on outside. And I think, you know, the vintage community could teach so much to the rest of the high street. So keep doing what you're doing, because I think going forward, it's going to be really important, and people, big companies are going to be looking, and I hope they see you as an example, because that's exactly where they need to be going, really.
Well, it's funny, actually. You're totally right. And actually, the funny thing was, before lockdown, I'd actually just started working with John Lewis, because they were basically, they were impressed with the fashion show that I put on at Exeter Cathedral last year, and about the turnout for it. And a lot of why it was, you know, popular and well received, was for two reasons. One, that it offers something different, but also, like you said, because of the personal service. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I was actually sort of starting to have talks with them, because I think they're seeing the value in supporting smaller, you know, independents, because well, at the end of the day, it's going to make them look good. But they can also see that if there's strong independent shops in a city, then people are more likely to come to that city, and
Yeah.
therefore then there's going to be more customers for them as well as for the independents. So yeah, you know, I think that you're right. I think a lot of
Yeah.
big stores are sort of actually, funnily enough, kind of like learning from us little ones at the
Yeah.
moment, because, you know,
I think
obviously we put
yeah.
customer service at the forefront.
Yeah, exactly. And even just down to things like you said, like the window display. So, you know, I used to find in the town centre where I was, it was quite dreary end of town, and people would come and walk past and come in and just say hello because they liked the window display. They kind of used to say,
Yeah,
oh, it's something different. And I know from seeing the Facebook posts, if you haven't found Hayley's shop yet on Facebook, I'm sure she'll pop a link, but go and look back at some of her pictures of her window displays, because she just creates amazing things that invite people inside. And it almost is like, so for example, I know you're at the moment, we'll talk in a second about this, but I know you're offering appointments at the moment for people to be able to come back and view. But if you're not doing that, and if you're a bigger shop, having a window display that's almost like a piece of theatre means that when people in the new world are queuing outside, you're giving them something that's interactive, that's almost getting them
yeah,
excited. But
yeah,
independents, we've been doing this all the time for years because we had to draw people in. We couldn't rely on our signage just saying Marks and Spencer's or Gap or whatever, and that's enough to get them in. So again, make sure that if you've got an independent store, I know some of our members have, just think about how you can use your window display. And if you want some fab ideas, go and chat to Hayley, because she's got some great displays that she's done before. Okay, so let's move on a little bit and talk about, you said, like myself, you were a teacher before. So let's talk a little bit about that transition, because lots of ladies want to make a change in their life, and it's a scary thing going from a career that has that, one, you've gone to university purely to train to do, and secondly that you have got a consistent income, and it's fairly consistent, but you know, how do you do that? How do you take that leap?
Well, I mean, I suppose I did it quite gradually, because I set up my business while I was still teaching. So, you know, I only decided to leave teaching when I was confident that, you know, the business was viable enough for me to be able to, you know, because I was already earning from it. And then it got to the point where the only thing that was holding me back was the fact that I was still teaching, because of course, you know, I was a part-time teacher at that point. But even then, I mean, you know, part-time teaching can still be like a full-time job with the amount of hours you put into it. So the fact that I was doing that didn't allow me enough time. And I was thinking, well, crikey, you know, I was doing vintage fairs and these festivals, and every one of them was getting better and better, and I was taking more. And I just thought, well, if I could really properly invest all of my time into it, then, you know, it was still a risk, I understand, but just from seeing what I was achieving in a relatively, you know, putting in relatively small hours into it, I thought, well, surely if I put full-time hours into it, then, you know, it's going to take off. So I guess I really did test the waters. You know, I was kind of like, I got into it quite gradually, and I also had a pop-up shop before I had you know, taken on a proper lease. So again, that helped me, because, you know, you're not having to, with a in case anybody doesn't know what a pop-up shop is, it's where councils have maybe you know, grouped together with a somebody who's running a scheme to source small businesses that will go into empty shops on the high street, and you can just sign up to have that shop for a few weeks. And then that way you can obviously see how successful it is for you with limited risk, because obviously you're only paying. I started out with an 8-week pop-up shop. So obviously at the end of the day, if it had gone horribly wrong, then all I was investing was 8 weeks worth of rent. So it wasn't like I was having to worry, oh my goodness, you know, are you going to lose your home and end up in lots of debt? So for anybody that can look into, if you're thinking about doing it, look into pop-up shop schemes, because I'm sure that especially post-lockdown, there's going to be a lot of empty units, and the council are going to want to be helping to get those filled. So yeah, do look out for pop-up shop schemes, because they're a good way of sort of testing whether having a shop is for you.
Yeah, definitely. I'd massively say that any scheme that can help you. And I know lots of towns, especially in Hampshire, have business improvement districts, or BIDs as they're called, and they are really good at helping you set up these kind of small pop-up ideas as well. Okay, so we kind of talked a bit about, I was going to ask you kind of why you left teaching, but, you know, I think it's kind of quite evident in some respect that your passion laid elsewhere. So I don't think we need to go into that much more. Yeah. And I'm sure everyone watching can see just what I meant when I said that Hayley's passion for what she does is just everywhere. So it's obvious why you didn't say teaching, because this is what you were meant to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I did love teaching when I went into it. But you know, well, for personal reasons that I've already got into, teaching wasn't for me anymore. As you know, I needed to sort of change the direction of my life and how I spent my time, really, for my own mental well-being. But also, you know, teaching wasn't what it was when I first went into it, and I do firmly, funnily enough, when I first became a teacher, I had a really inspiring inset day, and there was this guy who actually was teaching how to do fantastic displays. He did window displays for Harrods and things like that. So probably one of the reasons why lots of people love my window displays is because I actually had really good training as a teacher on how to do a brilliant display. But one of the things that he also said stuck was that whatever you did in your life, you needed to be really passionate about, but especially when you're a teacher, because at the end of the day, those kids, they have to be there. They have no choice. But as a teacher, you don't have to be there. You have a choice. So while I was really passionate about it and I loved it, it was right for me to be there. But then as personal circumstances changed for myself, plus change of government, change of direction with, you know, the curriculum, everything that we building and creating with the creative curriculum went out the window. It was suddenly all Michael Gove and tests and, you know, spelling. And it then very much became, you know, I remember getting an Ofsted inspection and I got outstanding, and we, you know, the school were really praised, and I didn't feel joyful about it, because actually what I was seeing was my kids, you know, going, oh, Mrs. Shaw, are we not doing art again? Because I was being told, you know, oh, you've got SATs coming up, you can do art after SATs, you need to focus on science and maths at the moment. And for me, I was just like, actually, no, that's not right. That's not what I signed up for teaching to be about, because not all kids are going to be scientists or mathematicians. And yes, they're useful skills, but actually I think that art and being creative and things like that are really important too. And so I just thought, actually, it's going against what I believe morally to be important as well. So yeah, there was a whole manner of reasons why I left teaching, and I definitely haven't looked back.
It's so sad though, because I know this is a whole different conversation, but so many amazing teachers in the last 10 years have left, and I think our education system's about to be revamped, and those losses will be felt. So and I dread to think that there's many more to come as well, given the new situation that we're in. So but a really key message, you know, you have to be passionate about what you do, and if it's no longer passionate, it's not the right place to be. Definitely, absolutely. So completely. What do you think, you know, looking at what you're doing now? We have kind of answered this question in a way, but why do you think, you know, you're so successful? Because so many people talk about independent shops not being successful, struggling in the high street, you know, big major retailers are closing their doors and not reopening after lockdown. Yet I actually hear the opposite. So many independent retailers are thriving at the moment. So what's the success? Why is it happening?
It's because of the service. It's because I think at the end of the day, I mean, I've had so much support from not just my regular customers, but for at the end of the day, I had to, once lockdown happened, I thought, right, okay, well, I can just sit and watch Netflix, which obviously I have been doing a bit, but I also made sure I thought, right, okay, I took, you mentioned bid earlier, and we have a brilliant bid here in Exeter, and I had some great advice from Marina, our events coordinator, and she said to me, to survive through lockdown, you need the person, you know, to make sure that people are still seeing who Hayley is. She said, you need to do videos, you need to get, and at the time I was just a little bit like, you're kidding me. And but what she said made sense, because of course people come to the shop for the personal service, for the fact that I will style them and I'll chat away, and you know, they come to me for that. So I thought, yeah, she's totally right. I need to kind of show on a video the sort of experience that they would have in the shop, and also for my website to actually have sales. Selling clothing is quite difficult to sell online, so I needed to make sure that I was showing people on a video what the fit was like, you know. So sometimes I was showing people like how stretchy a fabric was, or like dresses that had pleats across the tummy so that they hide things like the amount of weight that like a lot of us have put on during lockdown because we're not being as active. That kind of thing, you know, has really helped. So I think the whole idea that you're still offering that really personal service. I know that there's businesses also along my street where they've been offering, you know, home deliveries. They've, you know, had like their husbands delivering stuff on bicycles, you know, yeah, you know, just that kind of thing. Yeah, and I think that's what people are looking for, because actually people were willing to support my business and businesses like mine because you're relating to them as a person. You know, I mean, I've quite literally during lockdown invited people into my house because they've seen videos and photos of me in my living room, in my bedroom. You know, I've shared date nights that I've had with my husband, and you know, it's that, I think it's that kind of like that people can sort of relate to you, and therefore they care about your business because you care about them. You know, you're offering them a service, and actually you really do care about whether that service is suitable for them.
Yeah, and absolutely, it goes back to everything I've been saying about how we have to create content that is about us as people, not just our business, because people, when we are our business, people are buying from us, and that's what they want to see. They're not so interested. It's almost like the things that our business offer are kind of a side product, but what they want to know more about is us. So I'm so glad that you've said that, because it's just a kind of testimony that everything I've been trying to harp on about over the last 12, 13 weeks is actually true, and it's evident for you. So thank you for saying that. Okay, so what's your biggest challenge in running your business? What have you found the most challenging?
Oh, okay. Well, aside from obviously at the moment, lockdown has been sort of getting my head around the technical side of things. You've really helped with me getting to grips with Instagram, because obviously social media has been such an important part of business. And I'd really built up and focused on my Facebook page, but I must admit the whole hashtagging and, you know, all that sort of side of things on Instagram, you know, I'm not as successful on Instagram as I am on Facebook. So that's been a big challenge at the moment. And then I suppose in my shop, the biggest challenge, I suppose, again, it is advertising, because of course I can't afford to be up there by John Lewis, you know, up there in the shopping, you know, so in Exeter it's Princess Hay Shopping Centre that, you know, all the big names are and everything. And in town I'm much further down the hill from that, so a bit like when you had your vintage shop, you know, I'm a bit kind of out of the way, and I'm also on a hill. And so some people are like, oh no, you know, like Wall Street's on a hill, you know, I can't be doing, you know, so it's even kind of barriers like that, trying to appeal to people enough that, you know, they'll move away from John Lewis and the centre of things, and they'll come and, you know, find you out. And that's, you know, quite a challenge, because 4th Street does not have the footfall that the centre of town has. So, you know, things like the window display, like you mentioned, is really important, because fortunately we are on the bus route that goes into town. So we get a lot of people that will jump off the bus early because they stare out of the window, see the window display, and come that way. So that's one way of doing it. But yeah, the biggest challenge has been knowing how to advertise. I mean, I do think social media is one of my best ways of advertising, for sure. When I first opened the shop, you know, I tried things like, somebody came in and was offering me, you know, like an advert on billboards around Exeter, and I did it, but I didn't see any, you know, sort of effectiveness of that, to be honest.
It's really hard. Yeah, those kind of things as well, and leaflets and things like that, and newspaper adverts. It's really hard to measure your return on investment, because you don't, you know, unless you stop everyone who comes through the door and say, how did you find out about the shop?
Then
it's
you
hard,
don't know.
but at least on social media you can see where you're engaging with people. When you put some content out, you can see them engaging back. And most people then tend to come in the shop, and because they've had some sort of little conversation with you on social media, they might say, oh, I'm the person, I'm this person, or I saw your post on here. But people don't tend to walk into a shop and say, oh, I saw a billboard, or I saw that leaflet that came through my door, as much. So yeah, I think social media is like this kind of double-edged sword, where we have to kind of have a presence, but also it can take over your life if you haven't got to grips with it. So
yeah. I mean, it is quite, obviously I've put a lot of time into it during lockdown because I've had the time. But yeah, it'll certainly be, it'll be an interesting challenge to see how I manage it once I'm back in the shop, because I don't want to obviously lose, you know, the success that I have built up on social media during lockdown. But equally, obviously, when I'm in the shop, it's all about giving personal service. So, you know, it is going to be, a bit more of a challenge to make sure I get the right balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a top tip for that, it can be quite useful to utilise your local college and the students who are doing multimedia courses, because they often have to do some sort of coursework which involves working on real life projects. So you could, you know, get them in to come and do some social media posting for you.
That'd be cool.
Great
idea.
Roping someone else. That's my top tip. Roping someone else to do it. Okay, so a couple of questions that I always ask all my creative conversation guests. Look into the future, and when you're that old lady of 94 years old, what do you hope is going to be your legacy that you've left behind?
Oh, well, I hope that I'll be, you know, sort of fondly, you know, remembered as the, you know, the joyful lady in Exeter that got people into, you know, twirling around in petticoats and getting a bit nostalgic, and just feeling good about themselves. Perhaps sometimes at times in their life that, you know, were hard for them. So it's very much, my business is about bringing the joy, and that's more important to me than, you know, I often get people that come in the shop and say, oh, this shop is so amazing, you know, you should open up one where I live. And I'm sure I could do that. I'm sure I could open up chains, but actually I wouldn't be running them then. So that isn't what this is about for me, because sure, I could train somebody up, but I can't be there 24/7 and in my shop. So how would I know that the same standard of service and passion is really going on? Because, you know, unless you really love it, as I do, then I don't think, you know, it would just be a job to somebody, and I wouldn't want to put my name to that. So for me, my legacy, I think, would be much more about, you know, just being remembered as somebody that had that really cool, lovely shop in Exeter that made people happy, than, you know, like aspiring to be like Kath Kidson or something like that.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and I think it's a really big I don't want to say problem, but it's a big thing for anybody who runs their own business. When it comes to that point of trying to scale up, when you are your business and it's a really big can of worms. How do you do that? And I think it's been part of the problem of the high street, because big independents haven't figured that out either. If you look at, I'm sure the reason that, Mr. Sainsbury's started Sainsbury's is lost completely now in what they offer. So I totally get it. And you're definitely going to be remembered as that cool lady who brought a lot of smiles to a lot of people. I think you're probably already that anyway, but that's definitely not going to change. So my last question before I leave you is, who inspires you? What's your inspiration? Who is the person that brings you inspiration?
Okay, well, I have two ladies really that inspire me. So one is from the past, so Audrey Hepburn, not just for her look, which, let's face it, she was absolutely stunning. Her fashion was spot on. So I love her look. But she also had that really brilliant balance of her work and also really caring about people. A lot of people don't know, but she's done a lot of work for UNICEF and children's charities, and so I think she's a really, really inspiring lady. She was kind of one of those people that had it all, and I really admire her. And then the person that inspires me today is Angel Strawbridge from Escape to the Chateau. She is totally living the dream, and I absolutely adore her show. I think the fact that, in a way, in a bigger scale, she's done with her husband as I've done with mine. She's relocated, she's bought somewhere and made it her business. And again, her business is a huge success because she's so passionate about it. She puts her time and her love into it, and because of that, she does wonderful things. And I would love to go to her chateau. I actually styled a mother of the bride for a wedding there, and I was so jealous. So if anyone's ever getting married there, you can have a free frock if you can get me on the invite list.
She is Angel is absolutely amazing. I've had the privilege of meeting her a few times actually, but one of the first times I ever met her was not the other times she's been speaking at events I've been to, but one of the times I met her was just randomly in the toilets of a restaurant, and I just happened to comment on the amazing dress she was wearing, and then we were talking about lipsticks, and then she just gave me her lipstick. She was like, we were talking about it. She was like, this shade's really cool. I think it'll look good on you. Here you go. And it's just like little things like that stick in your mind about people. And I didn't really know who she was. And then the next time I saw her, happened to be on the TV. I was like, wow, that's the lady who gave me the lipstick. Like,
oh, amazing.
She was really cool. But yeah, I totally get it. She is just, every time I watch her show, it's just, do I look at the wallpaper or the furniture or her hair or the clothes?
Exactly, yeah. And I just love her transformations and everything. And the things that that she comes up with that a lot of people would be thinking, oh well, actually it'd be easier if I did. No, she just won't compromise. If she has an idea, then she sticks with it because she knows it's going to look fantastic. And I so admire her because she really goes for what she wants in life and creates beautiful things. And as I aim to do, she creates happiness for a lot of people because obviously she her home is now opened up for people for weddings and for holidays. And I think what they do is fantastic. So
amazing. So we've got a few people watching, but Amanda's left a comment saying her daughter is off to Exeter University in September, fingers crossed. And so Amanda will definitely be coming to find your shop. Amanda, you're going to love Hayley's shop. I can't recommend that you go in and say hello. Definitely go and find out more. She's on 4th Street, so go and find her. Thank you so much, Hayley, for sharing all of your insights with us. I mean, I could chat to you forever and ever, and we're long overdue a catch up. So as soon as this
Definitely.
prison sentence of lockdown is over, I'll be shooting down the A303 to come and visit you guys.
Yeah, please do.
Um, and the other thing that I just want to say is make sure you share your links to your pages in these comments, because lots of people are probably watching, as so many people do, and say, oh, you know, I'm not really into vintage fashion. But actually, if you're looking for something different, you know, if you're going to a wedding or any of those events that seem like impossible to right now, but, you know, just having something different. The high street is full of carbon copies in the same colours, and but having something different, it makes you feel amazing, and everybody comments on what you're wearing because it's different. So definitely go and check out some of the things that Hayley's got to offer.
Lovely. Thanks so much, V. And yeah, thank you for asking me.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye.
Bye.